Hello, Aquarius. This is going to be your weekly reading. We're going to get started with a 3-card pick. You're going to pick one out of these 3 cards and we're going to get back to it later. All right. So, if you're going to choose card number 1, we're going to set that aside. You're going to choose card number 2. We're going to set that right there in the middle. And card number 3 is going to be way over here. All right, now that is going to be Spirit's final message to you at the end of this reading. So pick one of those cards and we'll reveal what that card is later. All right, now let's get to your main reading. This is just going to be a general reading. Spirits, please watch over this reading. Give the messages that need to be given to who it needs to be given to. And let's get started. All right, Aquarius, let's see where you're at right now. Right now says 10 of Cups. So right now, family, legacy, inheritance, foundation, higher commitment. Seems like right now you're in a pretty decent place. Pretty stable right now. So it seems like right now you're doing okay. So that's good to hear. You know, you're in a good place right now. You're just solid right now, you know. So interesting. Let's see what challenges are coming up, all right? I want to see what challenges is going on, Aquarius, all right? 4 of Pentacles, all right, and your challenge card. Possessiveness, boundaries and limits, hoarding and holding, insecurities and stinging. So, even though you're in a good place, it sounds like you're still a little self-conscious. You know, you're in a good place, but you still got this feeling like you're not enough for some reason, you know? Which I get, you know, you're in a good place, you know you're doing all right, but something's still off, you know, something's just not quite there, not quite fulfilled, you know. Feel like you're doing okay, but, you know you're doing okay, but you feel like there's just something missing, you know, so. That's your challenge card. Interesting. Okay, let's see, Aquarius, what you need to focus on. Spirits are saying you need to focus on the Queen of Pentacles, all right? Generous and caring, nurturing and sensible, comforting and practical, and good business sense. All right. So it sounds like you're in a good place right now. You're getting inside your own head, Aquarius. You're getting inside your own head. You're in a good place, but you're self-conscious. You know, we get like that. You know, we overthink things too much. And that's just what we do. We can't stop thinking, you know, that we could do better. We could always do better. You know, even though we're doing great right now, it seems like, you know, something's still missing here. You know, and spirits are saying, hey, you know, focus on where you're at, focus on what you're good at, and don't be focusing on this nonsense. You know, stop getting inside your own head right now, Aquarius. That's what you need to start doing, all right? Now, the past. Yes, let's bring up the past. The Devil card. All right. The past: obsession, addiction, toxicity, excess, and codependency. That is your past, and that hits home way too hard. All right, I get it. You know, so in your past, you're dealing with some situations that you need to overcome. Situations that weren't good for you, weren't good for where you were trying to get to in your life. Got in the way of maybe relationships, got in the way of definitely your finances. And it was just a very toxic situation. And maybe it took you a long time to get out of that toxic situation to finally get to where you're at right now. And right now, you're comfortable, but you're still getting inside your own head. You know, maybe it's from those days when, you know, you were dealing with that toxic situation and you weren't in a great place. You know, sure, you're in a better place now, but maybe inside your own head, you're like, you know, I still feel like I can do better because I'm not exactly where I want my life to finally get to. I'm on the right road. I'm on the right track. You know, I'm slowly getting there, but I'm not quite there yet. So it seems like in your past, you had a lot to overcome. You had a lot to deal with. A lot was going on in your past. And it seems like, you know, you kicked that and you're in a lot better place right now, Aquarius. So good for you. Good for you. That's not easy to do, and not everybody can do that. Not everybody will do that, unfortunately. All right, so strengths. Let's see what Spirit said is your strength right now, and that is the Magician. All right, your strength is manifestation, willpower, and resourcefulness. All right, so spirits are saying that, you know, you obviously had to have a lot of willpower to, you know, kick whatever this toxic situation was in the past. And that is just turned into one of your strengths right now. You know, the fact that you have the willpower to overcome what you want to overcome. You've done it before. Wasn't easy, but you could do it again. You know you've already done it, so you know you can do it. You know, and that's a great strength for you. You know, you have the willpower to control your own destiny, control your own future, and control what you want. You know, you have that. You've already proven that to yourself. And that's just something you should keep using going forward, you know. Situations that aren't so easy, you know you get that willpower to overcome it. So, that is a strength for you, Aquarius. Good for you. All right, that one's going up here. I don't know why we put that down there. Bada bang, bada boom. All right, in your near future, Aquarius, let's see what's in your near future. Ooh, wow, the Death card is in your near future. Transformation, endings and change, transition, and release. So, you know, you've been getting inside your own head recently. You've been getting inside your own head that you're not enough, you're not doing enough. You know, even though you're in a good place in your life and you know you're in a good place in your life, you're still getting inside your head thinking that you could do more. I could do more. You know, I could do more in my life. You know, I'm not exactly where I want to be, but it says in your near future, a transformation's coming. Transformation that's probably going to take you to where you really want to get to, as long as you stick with that willpower. As long as you have that willpower and you keep using it, you know, this transformation is coming, all right? It's telling you right here. I just didn't, you know, pick it out. That's what spirits are saying. You know, endings and a change is coming in your life soon. Very soon, Aquarius. So, hopefully it's a good change and a good transformation, as long as you're using your strengths to your benefit. That's really up to you. All right. Now, let's see what your suggested approach is to this near future. And that is the Seven of Pentacles. All right. Your suggested approach is to harvest and reward results, growth, progress, patience, planning, and focus. All right. So, you really need to focus, Aquarius, on what you're trying to obtain right now. Whatever your main goal is, whatever you're focused on, that is where you need to keep your focus. Don't get derailed, don't get sidetracked, and stop making excuses. Stop making excuses of why you need to go do something else, why you got to use your time elsewhere, when you know the only way this is going to work and the only way this is going to go forward is if you're putting that time in. You know, things just don't magically happen. You need to focus on what you're doing and put that time into what you're doing. And spirits are saying, hey, if you do that, then you got a change coming, Aquarius, all right? So focus on what you're doing. Keep your mind, you know, in a good place. And just keep your head down and keep grinding, all right? That's really what spirits are telling you should be doing right now. All right, now, what you need to know. You need to know the Fool, all right? Freedom, possibility, and adventure. That's what you need to know. You need to know that you can have the freedom in your life to do what you want to do, to go where you want to go, where you want to go, to be who you want to be. You have that freedom as long as you keep going down the road that you're trying to pursue. Spirits are saying whatever you're trying to pursue, whatever this goal is in your life, just keep going. Keep chugging along because you're almost there. You know, it's like if you're running, you know, a marathon, you know, and it feels like a marathon, right? Life feels like a marathon. It's crazy. You know, we just feel like it's a race that just never ends. It never ends. But spirits are saying, hey, you're almost there. You're almost at that finish line. Don't stop now. Don't give up now. You can almost see it. It's right in front of your face. So just keep going with what you're going with. Keep your head down. Stay focused, and you're gonna obtain the rewards from this. You know, you're gonna have the freedom. The possibilities of your life is just gonna open up, Aquarius. That's what spirits are saying. Stay focused. You know, and the freedom coming your way, you won't even believe it. You won't believe it. It's gonna be insane. It's gonna be insane. All right. Now, what are some hopes and fears you have, Aquarius? What are some hopes and fears you have right now regarding where you're at in life, regarding the situation? What's some hopes and fears? The Ace of Swords. Clarity and truth, new ideas, victory and triumph. You know, so it seems like maybe you're afraid you're not going to get that clarity. You know, maybe you're working on something and you need a new idea. You're afraid that's not going to happen. You know, you're afraid you're not going to get to that victory. You're not going to get to that. You're afraid you're going to fail. Let's just call it what it is. You're afraid you're going to fail. You're afraid you're going to put all this time in. You're going to put all this effort into this. And at the end of the day, you're not going to get anything out of it. That's what it's really about. That's what you're afraid of. That's what your fear is. Let's just call it out and let's just call it what it is. All right? Your fear is you're afraid that it's just not going to be enough. You're going to do all this work for absolutely nothing, Aquarius. And I get it. You know, I understand it. We've all been there where we put a lot of time and effort into something and it was all for naught. You know, we didn't get anything out of it at the end of the day. It was all just seems like a big waste of time. You know, maybe, you know, years later or some time later, you take that as a learning experience. You know, it wasn't a waste of time. You learned something from that experience. You know, whether you choose to acknowledge that or not or accept that or not, that's up to you. Either way. Yeah, I get it. But just stay focused. Have hope that this is going to work out in the end as long as you do your part. All right? Your potential future for this situation is the Six of Pentacles. Generosity and charity, support and sharing, giving and receiving, fairness and gratitude. So it seems like this potential future here, you are going to be in a position in your life where you're going to be able to give back. You know, you do have that giving nature to you. You know, you want to be able to help people. You know, you may not know why. I don't know why. You know, I'm not a real big people person, quite honestly. But for some reason, you know, I still got this thing where, like, I feel like I got to give back to people. I don't know, you know, because we all need help. And maybe that's where it stems from. You know, I remember times in my life where I really needed help, you know, where somebody doing something for me could have really helped out. So you're going to be in a position in your life where you could do that. You know, you could be generous. You could be charitable. You know, you could support people. You are going to be able to do that. So I think that's a pretty good reading, Aquarius. It seems like you're in a good place right now. You got, you know, you're working on something, and whatever that something is, you're almost there. You're almost there. You're going to get there. Spirits are just saying, don't give up. Don't stop now. Just keep chugging along, and eventually you're going to get it. All right? Now, we had to pick one of three cards at the beginning of this video. All right? Do you remember which number you chose? I hope so, because I can't remember for you. All right? So let's see what Spirit's final message is to you with these oracle cards. All right? What is this? The Sacred Shadows Oracles? I don't know. All right, we're going to start with card number 1. All right? If you chose card number 1, this is going to be Spirit's final message to you. And that is indecisive. All right, you fear making the wrong choice, but learning to trust your instincts brings clarity. Yes, you're indecisive. You don't really know exactly what you want, but learning to trust your instincts. You know, it's hard to do sometimes. You know, sometimes your brain gets in the way of what you're, you know, something inside of you is telling you to do. So, yeah, spirits are saying listen to what's inside of you and not your brain as much sometimes, you know. Just sometimes you got to go with what just feels right instead of what logically makes sense. You know, we don't know why at the end of the day, but eventually, you know, time will reveal that. So if you chose card number 1, that's Spirit's message to you. All right, card number 2. Let's see what Spirit's got to say. Resistance. All right, holding on to old beliefs and refusing to adapt can hinder personal growth. Yes, so, you know, whatever the situation is, you always have to adapt. We have to adapt all the time. You know, if you don't adapt, you die. That's just what happens. You know, time has changed, people change, things change, and we need to change along with it. If we don't, you know, we get left behind, and that's not going to make us feel good at the end of the day. So, Spirit's saying don't hold on to your old beliefs, you know, kick those aside, stay open-minded, and, you know, see where life takes you. All right, don't hold on to anything too seriously, because nothing in life is too serious. It just isn't. All right, card number 3. Spirit wants you to know materialism. All right, what's I got to say? Relentlessly pursuing wealth and possessions and putting them above care for others. That's what you're doing right now. Seems like in your life you are focused on your financial growth right now. You know, I don't even know how to take that. I mean, the Spirit's telling you not to do that? Are they telling you to do that? It seems like, you know, we chase wealth sometimes. You know, I remember I spent the first, you know, a long part of my life just focused on relationships. In the past, you know, 5 years of my life, I've been, you know, putting relationships aside and just focused on money. You know, I've been single for a long time because I'm focused on my money right now. You know, focused on getting my finances right. And, you know, you take it however it applies to you at the end of the day, good or bad. You know, if you're focused on your money right now, then, you know, maybe there's something you need to focus on. You know, at the same time, putting everything in the money is not great. You know, money can get you in a decent place in your life, but it's not going to make you happy at the end of the day. You know, it's going to make you happier, definitely. It's going to buy you things that can make you happier, but maybe it shouldn't be where you put all your focus. All right, maybe you should focus on somewhere, you know, dabble into something else maybe a little bit, you know, instead of just focusing on that. But do keep your head down, keep charging forward, and eventually you're going to get to where you're going. Anyway, Aquarius, that is your reading for this upcoming week. Until next time, I'll see you there. Take care, and happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there.